Chemical antithyroid drugs, they interfere with organification of iodine. So thereby it suppresses the thyroid hormone levels in the blood. Two agents, methimazole and propylthiouracil. Important side effect is agranulocytosis, which can be seen up to 0.5%. It is more with PTU, can occur suddenly, is mostly reversible with supported treatment. So we have to tell the patient, whichever patient we start on methimazole or propylthiouracil, you have to tell the patient if they develop any sore throat or sudden fever, they have to advise to stop the drug and report to the hospital immediately. So this slide shows important points or important difference between methimazole and propylthiouracil. If you see the efficacy, methimazole is very potent when compared to PTU and it's long acting, whereas PTU is short acting. So in pregnancy is very important. In pregnant also you have to continue the antithyroid drugs. So PTU can be safely given, where methimazole is contraindicated. Mechanism of action is both are same, iodation and coupling. One important aspect of drugs, why propylthiouracil has higher it will take up the upper handles by means of inhibiting the conversion of T4 to T3. Both will causes rashes and neutropenia. Dosage of methimazole will be 20 to 40 milligram, whereas PT will be 100 to 150 milligram. Coming to medical management of the Graves' disease, we have two options. One is antithyroid drugs, another is radioactive iodine. Antithyroid drugs, you have two regimen. One is titrating the dose of the antithyroid drug, another one is giving a maximum dose and replacing with the thyroid thyroxine. If they go for relapse, more than 50% patients, we can go for majority of patients radioactive iodine. Minority of patients, we can continue the long-term antithyroid drugs. With the continuation of the drugs, carbimazole and propylthiouracil both are effective. As I told, there's two different regimens. The titration regimen, which try to achieve the euthyroid state. Block and replace regimen with the use of concomitant thyroid replacement therapy. It has advantage of avoiding iatrogenic hypothyroidism and need for frequent biochemical monitoring, and this regimen is contraindicated during pregnancy. Coming to beta blockers, it gives symptomatic relief. Like in case of patients having pulse rate more than 100, it will be a very useful drug. It is often used while waiting for antithyroid drugs or radioactive iodine treatment to start working. The only treatment required in hyperthyroidism secondary to thyroiditis. Larger and more frequent doses may be required because people with hyperthyroidism, as you know, they have increased metabolic rate and also related resistant to the effect of the beta blockers. And the common beta blockers are the propranolol and metoprolol are widely used, but because of hepatic metabolism is increased in hyperthyroid state, they need to be given 3 to 4 times a day. But in case of heart failure, we have to be very carefully to give the dose. Lower starting dose should be used, and different beta blockers like bisoprolol and carvedilol for heart failure has been used. It's another important drugs. It blocks the peripheral conversion of T4 to T3 and inhibits the hormone release, and used as adjuvant therapy in case of thyroid crisis and decrease the vascularity before surgery for Graves' disease. Not used for routine treatment because of paradoxical increase of the hormone release with prolonged use. Radiograph contrast agents which are used are hyponic acid, hypotate sodium, potassium iodine. Dose is 1 gram per 12 weeks. Of this radioactive iodine, treatment of choice for Graves' disease and toxic nodular goiter. It is inexpensive, it is highly effective, easy to administer, it is safe. A dose depends on estimated weight of the gland. Higher dose increases success rate but higher chance of hypothyroidism. Some studies have shown there is increase of hypothyroidism irrespective of dose. Regarding its side effects, 50% of Graves' ophthalmopathy can develop or worsen by use of the radioactive iodine. Use of 40 to 50 mg prednisolone for at least 3 months can prevent or improve the severe eye disease in 2/3 of patients. Use lower dose in ophthalmology because post-treatment hypothyroidism may be associated with exacerbation of eye disease, and smoking makes the ophthalmopathy worse. Regarding the safety, most radioactive iodine is eliminated in the urine, saliva, and feces in 4 to 8 weeks. So have double flushing of toilet and frequent hand washing for several weeks. No close contact with children and pregnant patients for 48 to 72 hours. Additional treatment may be needed after 3 months if indicated. The role of surgery in hyperthyroidism usually is a total thyroidectomy. The main indications are suspected coexistent thyroid carcinoma, solitary toxic nodule, large goiter, which causes mechanical problems, then failed medical treatment, patient preference, pregnancy if adverse effects from antithyroid drugs occur. Of surgery, hemorrhage, wound infection, rectal laryngeal damage, and transient and permanent hypocalcemia. This is commonly encountered in postoperative patients. Relapse of hyperthyroidism occurs in 10% of people over a period of 10 years. Thyroid storm. What is thyroid storm? It's nothing but acute complication of thyrotoxicosis, which you can encounter patient Graves' disease who was discontinued antithyroid medication or is previously undiagnosed. It comes with hyperpyroxia, sweating, tachycardia without atrial fibrillation, nausea, vomiting, and diarrhea, tremorousness and delirium occasionally. Precipitating factors: withdrawal of the antithyroid drugs, infection, diabetic ketoacidosis, stroke, cardiac failure, surgery, trauma, radioiodine, drug reaction, and iodinated contrast medium can precipitate thyroid storm. As you know, by doing the thyroid function test, the result TSH will be suppressed, where T4, T3 will be elevated. So other investigations could be helpful in case of this to find out the etiology could be ECG, which will show the atrial fibrillation. Complete blood count will give you about the whether patient has infection or not and their hemoglobin level. And echo will tell you about their cardiac function. And CT brain in case of stroke. Thyroid storm. So our aim is to decrease sympathetic outflow. The triangle of treatment, you have decrease sympathetic outflow and decrease the peripheral conversion of T4 and T3 and decrease the production of the release of the thyroid hormone. So this slide shows the role of the antithyroid drugs, that is by PTU, by RT can give the drug which will inhibit the conversion along with the decrease in the or suppressing of the hormone release, whereas methimazole will have only an effect on the hormone, suppressing the hormone level, and iodine which will block the release of the thyroid, stored thyroid hormone from the thyroid gland, that is Lugol's solution. Then steroid, the role of steroid is very important, which will block the conversion of the T4 to T3. Either you can give DEXA or hydrocortisone. And beta blocker is very important. Either you can give IV or per oral by gastric tube because it will reduces the symptoms, tachycardia, tremor, restlessness, all those things, and also the conversion of the T4 and T3. So PTU and beta blockers have important effect on the conversion of T4 to T3. The other management of thyroid hormone is supportive care. You have to give IV fluids, give glucose. If decay means you have to give along with insulin. Then oxygen is important. Then temperature, you have to decrease the temperature by means of cooling, or you can give a paracetamol and phenobarbital. If indicated, you can if in case of infection, we can give antibiotics. In case of cardiac failure or atrial fibrillation, you can go for digoxin. But ideally, we have to avoid aspirin. Prognosis, the mortality has dropped since the 1920s from 100% to 20 to 30%, and most frequently is due to the underlying serious underlying medical condition. Hyperthyroidism is nothing but most often caused by release of excess thyroid hormone by the gland, but this condition is defined as low or undetectable serum thyroid TSH with values within normal reference range for both T3 and T4. Both overt and subclinical disease may lead to characteristic signs and symptoms. But you need to know about some aspect of subclinical hyperthyroidism because Treatment. Age is more than 60 years, osteoporosis, cardiac disease is more common. Fully suppressed TSH, we have to, treatment advice would be either antithyroid drugs or radioactive iodine. For less than 60, no associated complications. Partial TSH suppression, you have to observe and you have to go for regular follow-up. Few words about the toxic multinodular goiter. The next most common hyperthyroidism, which consists 20%. More common in elderly individuals, long-standing goiter, lumpy bumpy thyroid gland, milder manifestations like apathetic hyperthyroidism, mild elevation of free T4 and free T3, progresses slowly over time, clinically multiple firm nodules called Plummer's disease. Scintigraphy shows hot and normal areas. Multinodular goiter, this picture shows nuclear scintigraphy where you can have various areas of higher uptake. It shows these are more nodules with activity. This picture shows the specimen of the multinodular goiter. Subacute thyroidism is the next most common hyperthyroidism, is around 15%. T4 and T3 are extremely elevated in this condition. There is an immune destruction of thyroid gland due to viral infection. Destructive release of preformed thyroid hormone. Thyroid gland is painful and tender on palpation. Nuclear scintigraphy scan, there is no radioiodine uptake in the gland because all the hormones will be released into the circulation. Treatment is NSAIDs and corticosteroids. This graph, actually, if you see, in case of thyroiditis, you have initially hyperthyroidist phase. So TSH will be very low, but T3, T4 may be in the higher side. Then it goes to the hyperthyroid phase to 2 to 8 months. TSH starts raising and T3, T4 starts falling to the normal range. And then later they go for recovery. Toxic single adenoma. It is a single hyperfunctioning follicular thyroid adenoma. Benign monoclonal tumor that usually is larger than 2.5 centimeter. It is caused in 5% of patients who are thyrotoxic. Nuclear scintigraphy can show only a single hot nodule. This is suppressed by excess of thyroxines. The rest of the thyroid gland is suppressed. Single adenoma, nucleated scintigraphy showing there is one hot nodule, the blackish color you can able to appreciate. Slide shows about the normal uptake of the radioactive compound, and you can see in Graves' disease there is a diffuse increase in the uptake. In case of toxic multinodular goiter, you can see there is a increased area, certain areas. Whereas in the case of toxic adenoma, you can have able to see one hot spot. This slide shows the thyroid picture. So in this, you can see there is a multiple nodule. It's called multinodular goiter. If you do the nuclear scintigraphy, you can able to appreciate the increased uptake by the nodules. Second one is a diffuse. Here the swelling is very diffuse. The swelling you can see in front of the neck, which is more common with Graves' disease. Terminology is thyrotoxicosis, factitia. There is excessive intake of thyroxine causing thyrotoxicosis. Patients usually deny, but it is a willful ingestion. This is a primarily psychiatric disorder, may lead to wrong diagnosis and wrong treatment. They are clinical thyrotoxic, but without signs of Graves. High dose of thyroxine lead to TSH suppression. This causes shrinkage of the thyroid. So which is not like in Graves, you have a diffuse swelling. Stop thyroxine and give symptom relief drugs. A revision. So you can answer yourself by reading this multiple choice question. A patient complains of sandy sensation in his eyes, weight loss and a tremor. His extraocular muscles are inflamed. His thyroid is diffusely enlarged and not tender. The most likely diagnosis is iodine deficiency, subacute thyroiditis, multinodular goiter, Graves' disease, and silent thyroiditis. In a scenario, a 55-year-old woman is anxious, irritable, frequent semi-solid stools, and she reports weight loss of 5 kg in the past 6 months. She was having a lumpy, bumpy, painless swelling in her neck for past 20 years. The most likely diagnosis is iodine deficiency goiter, subacute thyroiditis, multinodular goiter, Graves' disease, somatic toxic adenoma. In nuclear scintigraphy scan, iodine 123 uptake is very high in thyroid of patients with silent thyroiditis, single functional adenoma, subacute thyroiditis, acute ingestion of animal thyroid extract, Graves' disease. The answer for case 1 is Graves' disease, case 2 is multinodular goiter, case 3 is Graves' disease. Thank you.